All right, so my name is Jackie Miller. I work for USA Triathlon, and I live in Sarasota, Florida, even though USA Triathlon is based in Colorado Springs. I work remote. I've been doing triathlon for about 23 years now and coaching for 20. I was coaching full-time for about 17 years until December. I moved over full-time and got a job with USA Triathlon, so I'm still coaching part-time, but now my main focus is working with race directors and athlete engagement with USA Triathlon. It's been a fun change, and so yeah, kind of taking a lot of history and turning it into a new role. But anyway, so I appreciate being here and enjoying this cool weather, because in Florida it's like 9 million degrees and 1,000% humidity right now, and it's disgusting. So I try not to go outside except in the morning right now, but this is pleasant. So we're going to just cover some basics today, and stop at any time to ask questions, or if you want to hold them to the end, whatever you prefer. I'll be around all the way till when you guys get in the water, for those of you doing the swim run. First of all, who's a first timer? Who's never done a race before? Oh, good, good. And if you don't mind speaking out loud, if you want to just go around and tell what race you're doing.
The White Bear Olympic.
Okay. September 20th? Okay. And you already told me, but you can tell them.
Yeah, I'm doing the YWCA, the sprint triathlon.
And then?
And then
Yeah.
Okay.
And then? Who else wants to share?
Maple Grove.
Okay.
August 22nd.
Oh, that's coming up. Yeah. You, Maple Grove also?
Yeah, Maple.
Yep.
Square Lake 70.3.
Okay.
I'm doing the White Bear sprint on September.
Great.
Square Lake Sprint.
Square Lake.
I just did the Trailman, and I'm thinking about White Bear.
Nice. And is White Bear one of Judy's races too? Yeah. MMR. Okay.
I'm signed up for the sprint YWCA this weekend, but I broke my arm earlier this
No.
year. So swimming isn't.
Oh.
I don't know if I'll actually be doing it, because I don't have the range of motion back
That
there.
one's such a short swim, though.
Can you pat
Yeah,
like?
but I can get my arm up this
Oh.
I
Can you relay it? And have a swimmer?
think it's too late to do those kinds of changes.
I don't know. You never know. Some race directors let you do it to the last
I
day.
might just show up and
Yeah.
run in. But
Yeah. Just explain. Yeah.
I'm not signing up for any races.
Just here to listen.
We're going to do a sprint. We don't know which one.
Okay, that's fine. All three of you. Are you going to try to do one this season or one next year? Okay. Well, ask any questions you want, and if anything is confusing to you, just stop and say, I really don't understand, even though it's pretty basic. But first of all, let's just talk about equipment. So we'll start with the swim, the first thing. So you want, obviously, a very good pair of goggles, not necessarily the kind you go to Walmart or Target and buy. Most of you probably already have a good pair of goggles if you're out here swimming tonight. But you really want to find a pair that fits your face. One brand is not any better than the other. It's what's good for you and what's good for your eye sockets and your comfort level. So one way you can do is kind of just like without the strap around your head is just kind of put them on your face. And if they stick, then that's a good pair for you. Like not permanently, but just kind of go to the store, and if they stick like this, that's a good fit for your eye socket. Some of the most common brands are like Roka, Synergy, Blue 70, things like that. You can go to a store and try them on the first time, and then if you could, if you have a bike shop or a running store or a sporting goods store, and that way you can try them on, or at a race expo, usually there's some demos, and then that way you can try it on, or just buy them, and if you don't like them, you can return them. And then just for training purposes, you're going to want a swim cap. Some guys don't like to wear swim caps when training, but if you're out in the open water, it's really smart to have, if you're training in the open water, smart to have a brightly colored swim cap on for safety reasons, so you're more visible, especially if you get in trouble. And also for practice, you're not allowed to use them in most races, but have you guys seen the open water swim buoys? Those are really good to have for swim training. It's something that just ties around your waist, and then it floats behind you. You blow it up, and it floats behind you. And if you get really tired, you can use it as a little cushion to hold on to, like a flotation device. But it's mainly for people to see you if you do. There you go. If you get in trouble, you're easily spotted. If for some reason you're having some health issues out there and you're having trouble swimming, that people can spot you with your buoy. On race day, you'll be getting a timing chip that you'll put around your ankle. Most people like to put it around their left ankle because that's the side of your bike derailleur is not on. So before you go down to your swim on your race day, you'll have to make sure you have your timing chip, your swim cap, and your goggles, and a wetsuit if you're going to wear a wetsuit. If you're going to wear a wetsuit, also you'll want some Body Glide or some Vaseline or something to put mostly around your neck. If you're wearing a sleeveless wetsuit, you'll also want to put it under your arms to prevent chafing. How many people have swum in a wetsuit so far? Good. Okay. That's something you definitely want to practice in before race day. And we'll get to that a little bit later when we get into the swim. But you don't want to just go buy a brand new wetsuit and then wear it for the first time on race day. It's a very different, your body's going to feel different in the water. Your hips are going to be higher with the wetsuit on. So if you haven't practiced in a wetsuit and you're doing a longer swim, for example, on a longer race, you can get lower back pain or leg cramps if you're not used to that position in the water with the wetsuit. So it also constricts your chest somewhat, and it gives you a different kind of breathing. So again, why you'll want to practice in the wetsuit is getting used to the constriction on your chest, the tightness around your neck, and then if you have a long sleeve wetsuit, sometimes you have to get used to your shoulders working in a little bit different way versus when you're just out there swimming in a bathing suit. Some people like to wear sleeveless wetsuits. They're easier to get on and off, less constriction on the shoulder. However, that's people who live in warmer states like Florida, like me. I've never really preferred to wear a long sleeve, but for you guys living in Minnesota where your water is a bit colder, you probably are going to want long sleeve wetsuits, and definitely get a lot of practice in them before race day. For your bike equipment, you can, if you're a beginner triathlete, any bike will do. You don't have to go out and get the brand new like $12,000 bike. Get a used bike, get any kind of bike until you learn if you're going to really love this sport and stay in it. There's no sense investing thousands of dollars on a top of the line tri-bike. So any bike will do. You just want to make sure before race day that your bike is in good working order. Take it to the bike shop. I always recommend taking your bike, making an appointment and taking your bike to the shop about 2 weeks before your race. Make sure to have everything, just say I want a race day tune-up, and they'll check everything, clean your chain, lubricate all the parts that need lubricating. And then you'll want something to measure your like a Garmin bike computer or a wristwatch, like a Garmin on your wrist. There's different brands. I'm saying Garmin because that's the most commonly used brand, but there are other types out there. But you'll want something to measure your speed, your distance, the time on your bike, things like that on your bike computer. If you're going to your first race, anybody just going to wear like your running shoes on the bike pedals, or is everybody planning on clipping in? Running shoes? Good. Cages? Yeah, so there's different types of pedals. There's just flat pedals, and then there's flat pedals with cages, and that's usually where most people start. And then you move up to what's called clips, and then the pedals, your shoes attached to your bike pedals, or you clip in. It's called clipping in. Again, something you don't want to do for the first time on race day. That also takes some practice. Clipping in is not a matter of if you fall off your bike, it's when you fall off your bike. You're going to fall over the first couple times, at least once. So it's because what happens is you get to a red light or a stop sign and you have to stop, and you're thinking like, oh no, my feet are attached to my pedals, how do I stop? And then sometimes you'll unclip your right foot, but then you'll put your left foot down that's still attached to the pedal, and you just kind of tilt over all the way over. Have you had this?
No.
Okay, because you're like laughing like.
My biggest fear.
It doesn't hurt that bad. So what I recommend doing is going somewhere into a grassy field and just doing loops around the grass, and that way you can practice falling over and practice clipping in and unclipping. And just, go someplace soft, take a few laps, and just keep stopping, clipping in, unclipping, clipping in, unclipping, and get that feeling down. And after a few times of doing it, you'll be an old pro at it, and you'll know, okay, when I come to a light, it's my right foot automatically. My right foot's going to unclip, and I'm going to put my right foot on the ground to hold myself up. It just becomes natural after a while. But that's, again, not something you want to do on race day for the first time. What else on your bike? Helmet, obviously. And you want a helmet that's approved an approved bike helmet. You don't want to just go buy some Walmart helmet for kids or something. It's like CP's SC like approval, and you want to make sure it's not a used. You don't want to buy a used helmet. You want to replace your helmet depending on how much you ride, but on a general rule of like every couple years, because the styrofoam inside can get dried out and it's not be as protective. If you get in a bike crash and your head hits the ground, you also want to replace that helmet. The helmet's really your most important gear on your bike because it's protecting your head. So you want to make sure you have a good helmet. Helmets are mandatory on race day. Having them snapped is also mandatory on race day. They will not let you out of transition and bike mount unless your helmet is clipped. You'll want sunglasses on your bike just to cut down on the glare. And you also want to have some bottle cages on your bike for your fluid. And that's another thing to practice before race day is being able to keep your eyes on the road, reach down, grab your bottle, take a sip, and put it back. There's also something called a front drinking system or front hydration system that goes on your handlebars. And that way, if you're holding onto your handlebars or you're in your aero bars, if you have aero bars, the straw is kind of just right in front of your face and you can just kind of not even take your hands off the handlebars and you can just sip out of the straw. A lot of different brands and types of those. So again, just something to research and put some time into looking. So that's about it for your bike for racing is your helmet, your shoes, whether they're running shoes or bike shoes, your pedals, your your bottle cages, and sunglasses, okay? And then your gear for the run, obviously, more simple. Running shoes and you probably want a race belt for race day. It's just easier to put your number on versus trying to pin it on something. This is a race belt. I like the kinds that have pockets because then I can carry my own gels in here. So you can have like on your race, we'll talk about transition in a second, but you can just snap this on as you're running out. You don't have to take a lot of time to put the race belt on, but your numbers attach right onto here. And then that way you're not trying to pin something onto your triathlon kit, okay? And then I would prefer on your run, I personally prefer a visor or a hat to keep the sun off my face and the glare out of my eyes, along with sunglasses. So that's really all you need. Shoes and socks, race belt, hat or visor, and then your sunglasses. Some people race without socks. That's a personal preference. The shorter the race, the easier it is to run without socks. Again, something to practice with because I think like it takes 10 seconds to put on socks and it's worth like saving my feet from blistering for running for 30 minutes, okay? So that's up to you. But some people get no blisters at all and they save the 10 seconds and not put socks on. That's completely up to you. The faster you get or the faster you want, the more competitive you get, you'll want to maybe possibly get something called race laces, which are just elastic races that go in your running shoes. Then you don't even have to tie your shoes when you go into transition. You just slip them on, pull this little button thing, and it tightens them up for you, and you don't have to sit there and tie your shoes up. Okay? Any questions on gear? All right, I don't have all the things because I flew here from Florida, but I have a couple of things. I'm just going to talk you through setting up your transition. So you'll...
Can I go back to one question?
Yeah,
here?
of course.
So from the bike standpoint, the difference between having like a hybrid bike and a road bike, and the difference between a road bike and a tri bike, like once your legs are strong, how much does that actually yield?
Well,
Would you go a mile an hour faster, just the transition of the
you
bike?
definitely could. So it also is easier on the running because triathlon bikes, the geometry is set up to help your running muscles. And tri bikes and road bikes versus a hybrid bike are set up for speed to be faster. So they're lighter, they're more aerodynamic, things like that. So hybrid, you're talking about kind of like a mountain bike or like a ride around.
I have a road bike, but the handlebars are flat.
So like kind of mountain bike.
You're still in a position.
Yeah.
Where, more like downward.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious if should I invest in a road bike?
For your first race, I would just stick with a hybrid.
That's not my first one.
Oh, okay.
My fourth.
Well, as you want to get faster, then yes, the road bike or the triathlon bike is going to be faster.
But would it just automatically be faster? It wouldn't be any.
A little bit, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. From the standpoint of the bike being lighter and more aerodynamic, for sure. Yeah. And then you can also, if you have a road bike but you want to like have aero bars, there's a thing called clip-ons, And if you say you started on a road bike, but you're not ready to invest in a triathlon bike, you can always get clip-on aero bars and then just keep your road bike and have the aero bars on your road bike. And that's kind of the next step up towards learning how to be a little bit more aggressive and aero on the bike. But real quick, when setting up the transition, and then we'll get into more like swim, bike, run strategies, you want to keep things very simple, especially the longer distances you go. You start thinking like, well, maybe I need this, maybe I need that. The key for transition is keep it simple and keep it methodical. Just like practice it so many times. It should be something you practice just like you practice your swim, bike, run, that it just comes natural. When you run into the transition area, you just know what you're going to do. You don't have to make choices or decisions. Don't put like well, maybe I might want to run in that shoe, but maybe I want to run in those shoes. It's not a decision on race day. You decide before. You have one set of everything, one running shoe, one bike shoe, one pair of socks, one pair of sunglasses. Just keep it simple. And you want to set your transition up in the order that you're going to come up on each thing. So you're going to get out of the swim. You're going to be a little discombobulated, a little dizzy. So you're not going to sometimes be thinking straight, especially if the water's cold or it was a longer swim. You're going to take if you have a wetsuit on, you're going to start by taking off your swim cap and your goggles. Unzipping your wetsuit first and tearing it down to your waist, then removing your swim cap and goggles so you have a free hand, your hands aren't trying to hold your goggle and swim cap as you're trying to take off your wetsuit. Some races will have wetsuit people to help you out of your wetsuit. The smaller, that's more when you get into the longer races. The sprints and Olympic local races usually do not, but sometimes they do. So you want to practice also getting out of your wetsuit quick, however works for you. You can peel it down to your waist when you get out of the water, right up to transition, then take it the rest of the way off inside transition. But there's also no rule with just stopping on the side of the swim exit and taking it off right at the side of the lake, okay? And then once you get to your transition, and let me go backwards for a second. When you're setting your transition up, the night before or the morning of, whatever your race director has your check-in be, you want to know exactly what rack you're on and exactly where on that rack your bike has been parked. And I mean, go walk it off, go from the swim to your bike, go from when you get off your bike back to your rack because you have to re-rack your bike, where the run exit is, know everything about that transition area because that time counts on your race time. It's not like the clock stops when you're doing all your stuff in transition. It's still going. And it can mean a place in your age group just by having a fast or a slow transition. That's why I said to practice that just like you practice your swim, bike, and run, but also race morning. You know every intricacy of the transition area. Know the exits, know the entrances, know the bike rack, know where your bike is parked on the rack. And if there's anything you can use that's non-moving landmark, that's very helpful too. So if you're by a certain tree, if you're by a trash can that you know is not going to be moved, you can also kind of use that as your spotting mark. So, okay, when I run in, I'm going to run midway down the racks and I'm parked by the tree that has the weird branch hanging down or whatever you can find, okay? Don't use like something that's going to be moved, you know, like that's why I said maybe a trash can, but check that the trash can hasn't been moved the next day. Just find some kind of landmark. You don't really want to, you're not really allowed to tie like a balloon onto the rack or anything like that, but you can also use a brightly colored towel that also can be something to spot. So if you're going to use a little towel to put all your transition gear on, you can do a very bright colored towel that your eye can spot quickly. So setting up your transition, you're going to come up, what are you going to do first after you get out of the swim? You're going to get ready to go bike. Good. So you're going to have your bike stuff first. So you're going to have your bike shoes, if you're using them, or your running shoes first, and that you want them open, the straps. That way you can slip your feet right into them and close them up quickly. If you're going to wear socks, I like to put my socks inside my shoe open, kind of put my hand in there and roll them down a little bit and put them in my shoes. So that way I just bend down, put my socks on, put my shoes on, and then while I'm down there, I have my sunglasses, if these were sunglasses, with the arms open, and my sunglasses are in my helmet, arms open, and the straps to my helmet are outside the helmet. So then I'm bending down. I'm just putting on my sunglasses. I've already put my shoes on. I put my sunglasses on, still bent down, put my helmet on, snap it right away so you don't forget. Make sure your helmet's on forward and not backwards, because a lot of people, especially first timers, will come out of transition with their helmets on like this. And you don't want to be that person. And then you just grab your bike. So you have your helmet on, it's snapped, you have your sunglasses on, you have your shoes and socks on, and you just practice moving your bike also. You can hold it by the saddle, you can hold it by the handlebars, and you're going to run out of transition or walk. And once you get to the mount line, that's where you're allowed to get on your bike, not before. You can get on your bike after the mount line, but not before the mount line. So you may want to look ahead, and if there's a cluster of people in the middle of the road or the parking lot where you mount your bike, you may want to just go a little further past them and over to the side of the road to avoid the congestion. The mount line is where a lot of people fall, and you just want to be hyper aware in that area of your surroundings and what everyone else is doing. A lot of times people aren't quite ready. They'll have their shoes attached to their pedals, and they're not quite prepared for that yet, and so they'll be trying to get on their bike and get their shoes, their feet inside their shoes that are attached to the pedals, and they're falling over, and their bike's falling, and they're not moving, and then that causes you to get caught up in all that. So just be aware of what's going on. Think about it. Go to the side of the road if you need to. Go further down the road if you need to, but just keep yourself safe there. Okay? So then you go, you do your bike. We'll talk bike strategies in a second. We're still in transition. You come back. You know exactly where your rack is. You know exactly where you're parking your bike, right? Because you've walked it out several times. Then you're going to everything just goes right under your bike, under your rack, under your bike that you're putting back on there. Just take your helmet, everything off. If you're going to wear those same sunglasses for running, just leave those on. Then you put your, you've already got your socks on if you were putting them on for the bike. But sometimes people will bike without the socks and then just put the socks on for the run. So that's, again, something that you need to practice and figure out what works best for you. So when you come back, you're going to put your running shoes on unless you have them on already. And then you're just going to carry your race belt and your hat or visor, start running out of transition, and these can go on as you're running out. And that saves a few seconds versus standing there at your rack like, I'm going to put my hat on now, and then I'm going to stand here and put my belt on. And that's like a minute right there that you could be saving and just running and doing all this on the run. Okay? Any questions on transition?
So you don't wear your number when you're cycling?
Yes, you don't have to because you're going to have stickers on your bike and on your helmet. So you'll have, most races will have you have a sticker right here, and then you'll have a sticker underneath your saddle or on your top tube of your bike. It'll tell you when you check in, you'll get a sheet of stickers, and it'll say, affix this to your helmet, affix this to your seat post, or wherever they want you to put it. Yeah.
What would be a good option if I've ran marathons, ultramarathons, I really don't like a belt when I'm running? Do people still take the time to put them on a different way?
Then you can pin it. So what I would advise is pinning it to your triathlon shorts if you're wearing a two-piece. And then for the swim, if it's wetsuit, doesn't really matter if it's sticking out. But if you're swimming and you're not wearing a wetsuit, I would pin it to your waistband, roll it up and stick it inside your shorts. Otherwise, it's going to be flapping and blowing on the swim. Yep. Any other questions on gear or transition?
For a tri-suit, you just wear that under your wetsuit?
Yes. Yep. And again, tri-suits, tri-shorts are different than bike shorts because the chamois is a lot thinner and easier to swim in and then run with a wet pad. You don't want to do a triathlon with big, thick bike road cycling shorts on because then you're going to swim in them and then it's going to be like a diaper, running in a diaper. So you want to try to get a good pair of tri-shorts. They don't have to be expensive, even though all triathlon gear is expensive, but it doesn't have to be the most expensive pair. But again, and I've said it 100 times, I'm going to keep saying it, make sure you practice in them before race day. I had to do a race once at Ironman Florida, and I didn't know, unbeknownst to me, until the day before the race, that my tri-shorts, when I was zipping up my suitcase, must have just popped out. So I got up there, and I didn't realize it till the day before, and I went to the expo and just bought a random pair of tri shorts that were too small because it was the only size small they had left, and I cannot tell you the damage that was done that day. So do not wear anything new on race day. Yeah, it was a very painful couple days after. Okay, so swim strategy. Who here comes from a swimming background? Swam in high school? Great. So, but how do you feel about swimming in the open water? Is it a little different? You get nervous? You're fine? So she is one of the few. Most of us, the swim is a little scary. It's our least favorite part because it is a little nerve-wracking. You're kind of, not knowing what's in the water, what to expect in the water, who's going to bang you in the head with their elbow. It's a scary place. Everyone has a little bit of nerves in the beginning of the swim or the beginning of the race because you just don't know what the day is going to bring to you, and you're kind of really don't know what to expect. Could be a great day, could be a semi-great day, could be a bad day. That's part of the fun of racing. You just don't know what's going to be handed to you. So in the beginning of the swim, you've practiced your swim, you've practiced in your wetsuit, your tri-gear, all that. So the only thing left now is to go out there and swim for your race. First of all, I'm not sure how Judy lines her swims up but usually most people are either based on in an age group, but more commonly today is a rolling start, which is where it's almost like the start of a road race where you place yourself in a certain time zone of the race start. So if you're going to swim like under 20 minutes, you'll be behind this person with this sign or whatever you think. So it's a self-seated time-based start where like the fastest people go in first and then it just keeps rolling until you place yourself in the back at the slowest group. Or it's an age group like women 40 to 50, you're going to start at 7:30. And women 50 to 60, you're going to start at 7:35. Men 20 to 24, you're going to start at 7. So sometimes it's time-based. So you want to know what you're getting yourself into. So you're going to look on your race guide and find out what kind of swim start you're having, and then know accordingly whether you're going to be with your age group or on a time-based. Usually the more the sprints and Olympics are usually age group starts because they're a little bit smaller for the most part. So usually those are age group based, but again, make sure you know. So in the beginning, you're going to be very nervous. You can do some things to calm your nerves, like do box breathing where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, release for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and just do slow, deep breathing. It's also good if you're allowed, which most races you are, to go out before the race starts and do a couple strokes, 5 minutes of a little swim warm-up. That gets your body acclimated to the water, especially if it's cold. And you might not want to go and oh, it's cold, I don't want to go get wet and then stand in the air and be even more cold. But it's also a big shock to your system when your heart rate is high, you're breathing fast because you're nervous, and then you run out and you get in this water that you haven't been in, and you don't know what the temperature is. So it's just nice to go out there and get a little wet before the race. Do a few strokes. It doesn't have to be a big swim. Just even get yourself wet and feel the water and see where the chop is, or if there's a current, see which way the current is going. So do that first, and then that sometimes takes away the nerves to begin with. I like to swim out and then look back on shore and look at everybody kind of standing on shore waiting to race, and the sun's coming up, and I think, gosh, I'm so lucky to be here, and we've all worked so hard to be in this spot right now, and today's going to be a good day. And then just come back in, line up for your race, and then if you're still nervous, do some deep breathing. If it's your first race or you're just getting started, you don't have to run out and start fast and be competitive. Just walk out into the water, start in the back if you want, be the last person to get in the water, and just keep those nerves as low as you can. Your breathing's going to be a little bit off kilter in the beginning of the swim no matter what, just because you're nervous and then you're putting your face in the water trying to breathe. There's people around you. Just give it a few minutes or a couple buoys, and usually things settle down and your breathing regains normalcy. And sometimes it helps to chant 1, 2, 3 stroke, 1, 2, 3 stroke, or just keep counting if you're super nervous. and just keep counting to a random number and then start all over again. It just kind of takes your mind off of what's happening right now, and you're thinking of counting instead of like, there's a lot of people around me, or I just saw a fish, or what was that just touched my toe? If you're counting or counting your breathing, it just takes your mind off the other things that are happening. Has anyone practiced drafting? Like swimming right off somebody, either the side of their hip or the back of their feet? It's something to practice, but you're going to be around others on race day. But if you're purposely drafting, it does help the efficiency and the speed of your swim. So you're swimming a little faster for less effort. So that is something to practice. Tonight is a great, like these swim runs that Judy puts on, is a great time to practice things like that. So the drafting does help your swim be a little quicker, less energy expended. But if that makes you nervous and you don't want to be close to somebody else, then just find open space and find your own space out there on race day, whether you have to swim a little bit further out or further in. But you just want to make sure you're following the swim course, using the buoys and staying wherever the rules tell you, like you have to stay to the left of the buoys, you have to stay to the right. Usually on a swim course, you can stay on either side of the straightaway buoys, but you have to be on the outside of the turn buoys. But you need to check those rules for your particular race. Okay? Any questions so far on the swim?
Good technique for spotting.
Good call. So yeah, you want to make sure you're checking where you're going, sighting or spotting every 5 strokes or so. And on race day, it's a lot easier than when you're out here practicing on your own because they have the big swim buoys up. So every 3 to 5 strokes, you want to look up and see where that buoy is. Otherwise, you may end up on the lake, like all the way down there instead of on your little rectangle swim course. So definitely sight every 3 to 5 strokes. And if you have to just stop and tread water for a minute or two to like figure out where you are, if you got off course a little bit, it's okay. There's no rule in triathlon that says you can't stop on your swim. You can tread water, you can flip over on your back, you can breaststroke so your head is out of water and you're looking all around. You can even hold on to a kayak as long as you do not make forward progress. So if you get really panicked and you just need to take a rest and you just want to take a breather from the swimming, find one of the swim support people, hang on to the kayak or the paddleboard for a minute or two. You just can't have them move you forward. If you're moving forward, that's called forward progress. That's the only thing that's not allowed, but you are allowed to hold on and rest. And then,
Can I throw out one suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing Square Lake, it's late enough in the season and it's an early morning start, and the sun glare can, if it's bright sun, can be really bad. I swam straight into a buoy because I couldn't see it. The sun was so low and so in my face. So make sure that you have like
Good tip.
dark tinted if it's a sunny day.
Did everybody hear that?
It was brutal.
Good tip. Good tip. That's another thing too you can do is go out to the lake if you're allowed to swim in it on non-race days. Like if you're going to be swimming at 7 o'clock for race day, go out there one morning at 7 o'clock and kind of practice at that time. And then you can see where the sun is and you can see some spotting points and where the sun's going to be hitting. Any tips from our swimmer over here?
I always pick a place up on shore.
Good, that's a good tip.
If there's boats around, I try to find a boat cover, a bright colored boat cover.
Good tip.
Then I don't have to worry about the buoy. I aim for that and kind of
Yes.
It's also
light
useful
up.
if you need glasses. For those of us who don't use swimming glasses, and buoys aren't that big, and they're 200 or 300 yards away, and especially the water's bobbing, having something like a giant tree or a house, or if you're on Nokomis or something like that with a big sailboat, something like that you're swimming to, you can see that much easier than you can. The buoys are 3 feet-ish, and so I've definitely had races where there's 3 feet away and you can't see the buoys, so having something bigger.
Good. Good tip.
Your swim, like looking forward, like were you saying, like a couple other strokes?
Mm-hmm. Like every 3 to 5 strokes, you want to look up and see, like, yeah, and you can do it while you're stroking. Like, so as you're taking a stroke and you're turning your head to breathe, you can kind of just, as you're taking a breath, you can kind of just tilt your head forward and look and then go back down and keep swimming. Or you can just pause and tread water and look. As you get more experienced, it's easier to do the sighting within your stroke. But for now, for beginners, I would just, if you have to like pop your head all the way up and pause for a second, That does slow you down a little bit because your hips drop, you lose your rhythm, but it's okay. Especially if, it's your first few races, you just want to get the feel of it and learn your way through the open water on a race day. Okay? So we get off the swim, we're like, thank God the swim is over and I survived. Then you're going to move on to the bike. How many people the bike is your favorite or you feel the best on the bike? I didn't ask this earlier. What about the swim? Whose swimming is the favorite? And the run? Mostly run. Okay, mostly runners. The run I can see because there's less chance of things happening, right? So the swim, kind of a little bit out of your control because there's so many things and people around you. Bike, mechanicals, things can happen. And then the run is just you and the pavement running, right? Which reminds me, as I say the word out of your control, we'll get into this a little bit in mental, but just while we're on the topic, when you're at the start of your day, you want to know, or you want to keep in mind that you have certain things that are in your control and certain things that are not in your control. And we can't worry about the things that we can't control. What can we not control? We cannot control what the weather is doing around us. We can't control what the other racers around us are doing. So if we think like, well, I want to win my age group, but that's really not in your control because you don't know what kind of day other racers are having. Mechanicals on your bike are not in your control if that happens. So you can't worry about what if I get a mechanical? What if I lose my goggles in the swim? What if someone does better than me? What if I'm in last place? Those things are out of your control. It doesn't matter. The only thing you can worry about is what you're putting in your mouth, your fuel, which we'll get into later, to keep you hydrated and your calories going to get you through the race. Your mood, like staying positive, saying like, I feel good even if you feel like crap. I feel great, I feel strong, I'm ready for this, I've prepared for this. And your pacing. Like whatever you've practiced in training, your run pace, your bike speed, or your heart rate, your power on your bike, whatever tool you're using, if any, go by feel, whatever, that's your pacing is the only thing in control. Your nutrition, your pacing, and your mood. Those are the only three things that you can control. Those are the only three things to worry about. Okay? So the bike. The bike is the place where a lot of people can really blow their race, especially as the races get longer. Sprints are pretty, they don't feel short, even though the distance is short because they hurt because you're trying to go fast the whole time. But the pacing on the bike gets a little less important on a sprint because it's just the whole thing is fast. But the longer you get into the Olympics, the 70.3s, pacing on the bike becomes so important and fueling on the bike becomes so important because whatever you do on the bike is going to affect your run. So I always tell myself the bike is my vessel to either ensure a good run or to ensure that I have a really crappy run. So you don't want to surge on the bike. You want to try to keep your pacing as steady as possible. So when that person passes you and then you get mad and you speed up to pass them back, that's burning a match. Every little surge on your bike is burning a match that you need for the run. So you have to use those matches wisely. Because if you keep surging or you keep going too fast the whole time on the bike, you're not going to be running, you're going to be walking that run distance. You also want to make sure you fuel properly on the bike. This is the one area that you can really work on getting your nutrition down is the bike because you're obviously not drinking and taking gels in the swim. And on the run, your stomach is jostling around so much you're burning more calories on the run, but you're able to take less calories in. But the bike, your body's sitting somewhat still, your legs are moving obviously, but it's easier to get those gels, chomps, drinks down on the bike. So you really want to focus on getting at least a bottle per hour on the bike, and we'll talk a little bit when we get to nutrition, we talked earlier, but getting some source of calories in, especially as the races get longer, as you move up in distance, it becomes very important to get gels or chews or whatever source of carbohydrates in your body that you're going to use. And we'll touch on that a bit later. So smooth and steady on the bike, try not to surge, try to keep whatever pace you're used to. You want to feel the effort, but not too much of an effort. is anybody in here use training with our heart rate or power, or you just kind of go by feel and speed right now? Yeah. So whatever speed and feel that you've used in training, that's what you want to do on race day. You're going to be hopefully a little more rested on race day versus all the day after day of training, because you're hopefully going to take that week as a very light week, and your legs are going to get all rested up for race day. So you will feel a little better hopefully on race day, and your adrenaline's going to be high, so you may be able to go a little faster and feel a little stronger on race day because that adrenaline and rested legs. But try not to overdo the bike and get the nutrition down and steady on the pedaling, okay? Any questions on the bike? Okay, so then we're going to bring the bike back to transition. We're going to rack it. We're going to take our helmet off, all that. And now we're moving on to the run. And the run is, like I said, it's going to be really based upon how you did on the bike. If you held back on the bike, you're going to feel better on the run. If you blew it out on the bike, it's going to be more challenging of a run. So the run, you want to make sure you're still getting some, especially if it's a hot day. I don't know like how long it'll be hot here in Minnesota, but whatever the day is, you want to, if it's hotter, you're going to make it's even more important to get that fluid down. If you might want to carry a handheld on the run, if it's a really hot day, a handheld running bottle. Otherwise, make sure you're taking something in at each aid station. If you need to walk through the aid station, there's nothing wrong with that. You can make sure you get your drink down that way. Reset your legs, take a short little walk break. You can make it a rule like, I'm going to walk from the first trash can at the aid station, but by the last trash can at the aid station, I'm going to be back running again, okay? There's no hard, fast rule about not being allowed to walk on the run portion. So you want to like try to keep your the run gets a little bit challenging because it's the last leg and your body's tired by this point. It's getting later in the day. It might be getting hot by this point. So really, that's when your mental strength is going to come in, and you can play games with yourself on the run. Like, I'm just going to get up to that person in the blue shorts, and then I'll slow down a little bit. Or I'm just going to, every time I pass by a street lamp, I'm going to imagine that the street lamp is putting energy into my body. Just silly little tactics. I know, like weird stuff goes into your head, and whatever works. You can dedicate 1 mile for each friend of you. Like, I'm going to think about this friend mile 1, and then I'm going to think about this friend. Whatever helps to catch your mind off the pain of the run. I sometimes think like, as bad as my legs hurt right now running, there's some people in wheelchairs that would like give everything they own to feel this pain of running. So just little positive things in your mind to try to take your focus off what is hurting in your legs or blistering on your toes, and just keep you moving forward in a positive way. And then eventually you're going to get to the finish line and get your medal. And first timers, then you can call yourself a triathlete. So any questions on the run?
Is like any tip or technique for getting your legs back after the bike to start the run?
Good question. Yes. So the question is any technique to get your running legs back after the bike? The more you practice bricks on training, the more used to that feeling you're going to be used to that feeling. But if you need to, it is going to be weird when you get off the bike and you start running, especially if you haven't practiced that yet. It is a very weird feeling, and you just don't feel like running for a bit. You can walk. There's nothing wrong with walking out a few hundred yards until your legs start loosening up a bit, or just a slow jog. But what you don't want to do is just like go out into a full sprint and blow it out the first mile and then walk mile 2 and 3. So yeah, so walk or just kind of run. Like when you run, kind of bring your knees up a little higher and loosen up the quads and the hamstrings. You can like run and kind of kick your heel back a little bit to stretch out the quad there. Yeah. Any questions? Okay, let's move on to mental tips. So the longer triathlons, the longer your races get, the more important it becomes to have little tricks in your mind. We talked about the box breathing. That's one thing. Another thing is breaking the race into parts. So when you're standing in the beginning of the race morning at the swim, and you think, oh my gosh, I have to swim this distance, and then I have to bike this distance, and then I have to run that distance, that's pretty intimidating and overwhelming. So you just want to break the race into chunks. So you're on the swim, and you're like, okay, there's 6 buoys out there. So I just have to swim 6 buoys. So I'm going to swim to buoy 1, and then I'm going to swim to buoy 2, and then 3, and then before you know it, I'm at buoy 6. Great, my swim's done. Then you're going to get to the bike. And whether it's 10 or 13 miles or 26 miles or 56 miles or 112 miles, whatever it is, you're going to also break the bike down. You're not going to look at it's 13 miles or 26 miles. You're going to say, oh, I just have 2 aid stations I have to go through, or bike bottle exchanges. Or I just have to get to this point and then I turn around and come to that point. Break it into like 2 bike rides. So it's 2 13 miles or 2 6.5 mile bike rides. Just break it into small chunks. And then the run, it's not a 5K, it's 3 1-mile jogs. Or if it's 10K, it's 6 1-mile jogs, or aid station to aid station. So breaking the race into chunks makes your day less intimidating. The night before or the week of your race, it's very good to do visualization exercises. And we probably are all familiar with that, but it really has been proven to work. So you're laying in bed at night or in the morning when you wake up, and you just walk through your whole race day, and you can either visualize yourself looking out, like actually doing it, or you can give it a bird's eye view, like you're looking down upon yourself, swimming, biking, running. And you want to think about how you are prepared for this. You've trained for this. Your body's ready for this. You're going to have a great day. And you want to just visualize every little step of the way, like from your toes being in the sand at the beginning. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? All 5 senses, like my feet are cold because they're in the sand, but it's okay. I'm really nervous. My heart is racing. I smell wetsuits and gas fumes from the boats out there. And just kind of visualize every step of the way. There was one more thing I was going to say besides visualization. I just lost my train of thought. I'll come back to it. But so visualization the week before. You're slow breathing at the beginning of the race because we're all nervous, and thinking positive and having little training tips in your mind while you're actually racing. Anybody have any mental tricks that they use for preparing, like even for your training? If you're coming out here tonight and you know you're going to be around other people, like what are you thinking? Are you doing any visualization or positive thinking exercises? Not yet.
So I look at like the first 25, 50 yards to kind of go out, get the breathing settled.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, time for you to go long and
Good.
lean.
Yeah.
Long and lean.
Yes.
And swim almost catch up.
Yes.
And then before you know it, you're to the first buoy. It's like right on.
That's great.
I am over.
That is great.
And then I go to the next buoy. It's like, okay, home stretch. I'm long and lean. And then pick up and then visualize when I want to pick the pace up.
Yeah.
To get to the
Yes. That's great. Yep. I like that.
This is my training that when I try to go fast, I raise my heart rate and my breathing significantly.
Absolutely.
So when I don't try to go fast, like if I'm gonna do a swim and I'm like, you're not training today, just enjoy it, calm as you can, focus on the breathing. It's like, you just PR'd.
Isn't that funny? There's a saying, like slow and steady is fast.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
But same with running. I'm not gonna look at my heart rate. I'm gonna just jog as slow as I can. And then all of a sudden, like your legs are going faster somehow. And you're like,
I think because your mind is just not really thinking about it. And you're like, I'm just going to go slow today. But then your body feels good because you're telling your body you're going to just take it easy and go slow. So your body just starts moving faster.
I haven't successfully done that in a race, but
But it will. It'll get there. That's good. And that your brain is like a computer. Whatever you tell your brain is what your body is going to do. So if you tell your brain all the time, like, I'm so slow, I suck at this sport, I don't know why I do this, then that's what kind of athlete you're going to be. But if you tell yourself, I work hard, I'm strong, I know I'm getting faster, that's what's going to happen. So you have to always think positive. And like, if you think how few people actually do triathlon, like, you're winning just by sitting here doing your first race. So be proud of where you are and what you're doing, because it's not easy. And people, we don't have a lot of free time, so to put your free time into doing this sport, that's a really great thing. But I had funny, like another little story. I was doing, I hate cold water, And I was up doing Massachusetts 70.3 a few years ago, and I had just gotten put on blood pressure medication. So I did not bring my blood pressure medication. One of my friends doing my race with me is a nurse, and she was like all over, like, I can't believe that's so important. You take it every day. Oh my God. So it was now in my head. So I hate cold water. It makes me panic breathe, and I know that, but it was wetsuit, which I also don't like. So I get into the Connecticut River that is like 68 degrees or 60, it was freezing, but you guys are probably like, oh, that's normal. And my face hit the water and my chest constricted, and I thought I was having chest pain. Maybe I was imagining it. But every time I would put my face in the water, I would panic, and I'm like, this is how I'm going to go. I'm going to have a heart attack right here on the spot. I'm going to drown. Today's my day. It's happening. So I kept thinking, like, maybe I should quit. Maybe I should stop. I think, because my friend had it in my head about, the blood pressure medicine plus the cold water. So, but it's a river and it's downstream, so you really can't turn around and just quit and go back because you can't. So a beginner athlete I had coached a while back had told me she hates swimming, so she gets really scared. She just counts, which I said earlier in the talk, she just counts to a random number. So I was panicking, and every time I put my head in the water, I had to pull it right back up because, I was having a heart attack, which I really wasn't, and I was going to drown and die. So I just started counting, and I just counted to 52, and then I'd start all over again. And finally, before I knew it, I was just so busy counting that the swim exit was there. So that's my personal panic, die on the swim story. So if counting helps you on your race, whatever helps in your brain, keeping off the fear or the pain is very important. So we also said we'd talk a little bit about nutrition. So nutrition is I call nutrition like my day-to-day eating, and my fueling is what we do on training and race day. So your nutrition is really up to you. Like, you want to eat well, you want to, whatever diet you follow. I'm not going to get into like day-to-day nutrition because everybody's very different in that. But you do want to think like you're putting your body through a lot of stress with all the training that you do. So you do want to try to focus on healthy foods and not just fill it with junk, even though sometimes junk tastes good, especially after a race. But try to eat healthy on a day-to-day basis, whatever healthy is for you. But we're going to talk about fueling, which is what we eat on training and racing. So fueling is extremely important, and it's like the fourth discipline of swim, bike, run. So you have swim, bike, run, and if you have done all these hours of swimming, biking, running, but you haven't practiced what you're eating and drinking on your training and racing, you're just doing a disservice to your swim, bike, run training because you aren't going to perform to your capacity, and all that training is really not going to pay off if you're not fueling your body on training and racing. So what do we fuel with? Especially the hotter it is, definitely want to watch like your count of electrolytes. You want to, on a general rule of thumb, take about a bottle per hour of electrolytes in, and that is completely up to you and your gut. I was saying earlier, what's your name? Jess is doing a 70.3, and I said the fueling gets really important in that distance, but your body is working very hard, so you don't want to put a lot of solids in for your fueling because now your blood flow is going to be going to your stomach instead of your arms and legs, and so now it's being diverted to try to digest the solids. So you want to try to stick with, especially for the shorter races, with electrolyte drink, whatever that is for you, and either gels or the chomps or chews, the little like gummy candies that have carbohydrates in them. You also want,
I was just wondering, when you say a bottle per hour, are you talking about like 8 ounces?
like a 12 to like a 24, like the normal bike size bottles. Like I think they're 24. Electrolytes drink is like potassium, magnesium, sodium, like definitely sodium. And you got to practice what works for you. It could be anything from like the Element to Scratch to Gatorade, a lot of to Precision. There's so many on the market. And you really just have to see what works with your stomach. And we were talking earlier about, it's called training your gut. And the longer your races get, the more you have to train your gut. So training your gut is using everything in training exactly as you will on race day. So all the products you're going to race with, practice every time you train. Even if it's a 45-minute run, you want to try to practice with drinking if it's Gatorade, or precision, whatever your drink of choice is, always train with that and get your stomach ready for it for race day. Sometimes if you're doing the longer races, it's easier to train with whatever's going to be served on the course. And then that way you're not trying to like transport all your stuff and figure out where you're storing it and carrying it. So I think right now, like the Ironman branded races is precision. So not giving a pitch for precision, but just find out what your race course is serving and maybe practice with that. And then the gels and the chomps, they're like, that's why, as I showed you my race belt earlier, it has a little pocket, and you can just put your gels, your chomps right in your little race belt pocket, and then you just reach down and get it whenever you need it. Then the carbs per hour is really up to you. The shorter the races, you're probably going to need a little less as you get into the longer. Right now, the standard rule of thumb, but this is a lot, and you have to work up to getting your stomach ready for it, is 90 carbs per hour. Okay, so that's a general rule of thumb. Some of it is based on your body weight. The electrolytes sometimes based on your sweat rate. There's things you can look online and you can take a sweat test and see how many ounces per hour you sweat out, and that's kind of how much you want to replace it with each hour. Yes, so practice your gels, your electrolytes on your training. And then when you're doing the longer stuff training-wise, you want to usually follow up with a recovery drink because that's replenishing the glycogen and the carb stores in your body for like your training sessions later in the week. So if you go out and you're going to do a 2-hour bike ride and a 30-minute run, then you're going to want to do a recovery drink afterwards. And it can be something as simple as chocolate milk all the way up to a commercially made recovery drink. That's, I was saying earlier, usually you're looking for a 3 or a 4 to 1 ratio on 3 or 4 carbs to 1 protein, like grams. So like 30 grams of carbs, 10 grams of protein. Then the other thing is, especially as you get longer, you want to have different carb sources in your fueling products. So if everything is fructose, your stomach's going to get upset. So there's different emptying rates for each carb source. So let's say fructose empties out of your stomach every 20 minutes. And dextrose, I'm just using this as an example with my numbers. This is not real. But dextrose empties out of this stomach portion over here every 15 minutes. And honey is every 30 minutes. So everything is going at a different rate. So everything's not just going into your stomach at once and emptying out at once. So different carb sources will help your gut, and it will also give you a more steady source of energy because everything's kind of burning off at different rates. Okay, so like the honey stinger products, that's a different source of sugar versus Cliff products. Some of their products use like a brown rice, and then like Gatorade is fructose and dextrose, or there's also maltodextrin. So there's a lot of different carb sources. So you want at least 2 or 3 different sources, especially as your races get longer. For a sprint, you're just doing 1, it's going to be okay, but the longer you get, if you stay in the sport and you keep moving up in distance, the more important the different sources become. Questions? On the bike, so there's a little thing you can put on your top tube called a bento box, and it just velcros around your top tube, and then it zippers, and you can put them in there. Or you can also use a little bit of duct, like I cut the duct tape so it's thinner. And then you know how the gel has the rip top? You can tape them to the top tube so when you rip it, the little tab stays under the tape, and then you can just do your gel. And then I usually put the tabs like in my sports bra because you can't litter on the course. Or like she was pointing to, your pockets, depending on shorter races, definitely the pockets. The longer, when you're doing 70.3, it's not going to all fit. You could say it loud.
I was just going to say, I've had to do, my running background, I know how important fueling is.
Yes.
So I've had to look a lot into tri-suits, and like the biggest thing for me is how many pockets do they have?
Ah.
So I don't have to carry something
Good.
else. So I know like Zoot is kind of inspired by, Ironman is like a big sponsor, I think, with them. And so they have like inside pockets, outside
Yes.
pockets, pocket at the top, or some of them, like this one only has like the 2 in the back, and I don't even think this one has the top. But it's, so something to look at is like with whatever you're going to be with.
Absolutely.
For me, the more pockets,
the better. Yeah. I've even stuck them under my bike shorts. Like for shorter races, I'll just stick them inside my bike short and then just pull them out. But yeah, pockets are important. And the race belt with the zipper for your 70.3 especially, yeah. Let's see. I think I covered my list, and then we can just take questions, and you guys can, oh, no, race day mistakes. Okay. I think I put some of those on your handouts I gave you. See, that's why I have a list. Mental, okay. So, race mistakes, we kind of talked about these. So, common mistakes, the top 10 mistakes we see athletes making on race day. Number 1, starting out too fast. Just trying to kill the whole day. You have to pace yourself, okay? Think of the swim as your warm-up. The bike, like we said, try to steady, like whatever pace it is you can hold. And then the run, like, you know, the first couple miles of the run, try to dial it back a little until you get your legs going under you. And then when you get to a certain point, you're like, okay, I've only got 2 miles left. I'm just going to give it all I've got at this point. Or the last mile, I'm going to give it, like, empty out the tank. Number 2, forgetting your nutrition. So I have done this before. So ever since I forgot my bike bottles, now, like, not at home, but if I'm staying in a hotel or somewhere, I will now put sticky notes on my hotel door of anything I wasn't able to check in the day before. So, like, a lot of times I'll make my bottles the night before and put them in the refrigerator. So then I have all my other stuff in a backpack by the door. And I ran out one time and left the bottles in the fridge. Luckily, was close enough to the venue to go back and get them. But that was a lesson. Now I always put a sticky note on my door when I walk out, like what I still need to grab. So do that the night before. Leaving transition with your helmet unbuckled. Talked about that. Don't want to do that. Standing in transition too long. This is something we didn't talk about, but standing in transition too long to do your things, yes, that's one thing we did talk about. But race morning, there is high nerves in transition. And that is not a place you just want to hang out and go chitter-chatter with your friends, because it's going to make you more nervous. So get in, do what you need to do, get out, go find a quiet place somewhere, go do your swim warm-up, go sit under a tree with some headphones on, and just think about your day and have some quiet alone time. But don't hang out in transition after you're done setting up your area. Just get out.
After I set up my transition area, I do like to just walk from the water
Yes.
to the swim in, like to the transition
Yes.
area, touch my bike, go where I would take my bike out, and then where I would come in with
That's,
the
yes. I think we talked about that. I don't know if you were here yet, but that's so important. We're just going back to, like, making sure you walk off every angle of transition, where you're coming in from the swim, out from the bike, in from the bike, and know all that, because that can cost you. If you don't know where your rack is, that's going to be a lot of searching.
I do that with, like, the swim. Like, if it's not by age, if it's by ability, and you're like, oh, I want to be in the middle of the pack, but now I'm stuck like a sardine in the middle of the pack, or a bunch of anxious people.
Like out in the water?
Yeah.
Then you just swim out, like swim
No,
away
not in
from
the
them.
water, like while
Oh.
you're waiting. Like,
Oh.
the ones I've done, it's like that.
Like on the shore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're packed in like sardines and everyone's like hyperventilating. you're like in your room.
It's when you try to close your eyes and do that box breathing we talked about earlier. Another thing I've told athletes that are very nervous at swim start is to, like, fake it until you make it. You just go out there, like, this is your 100th race, put your shoulders back, your hands on your hip, hold your head high, look around like, I'm the fastest swimmer here. I'm going to beat everybody, even if you think you're the slowest. But just have the attitude of high confidence, shoulders back, arms on your hips, and just, like, look scary. Portray that you're a badass. Drafting is a rule. That number 5 is drafting. It is on the sheets that I gave you. It's an explanation of drafting. It's one of the commonly or purposefully violated rules. So drafting on the bike is illegal, and it can get you a penalty. If you do it more than 3 times, it can get you disqualified. Again, going back to the longer races, you'll see it happening more often. But the drafting off of another bike obviously makes riding a lot easier, and if they're faster than you and you're drafting off them, it's going to make you a lot faster for a lot less effort, which then transpires to having fresher legs on the run. But it's cheating, and you're not allowed to do that, so don't do it, okay? Like, play fair and square. We're all out here to do the sport and try to be fair about it, so don't draft off the faster people. Forgetting sunscreen, especially the longer days, the hotter summer days. make sure you put your sunscreen on, or you're going to have those race numbers sunburned into your arm. Skipping breakfast. So make sure you eat, and you're not going to feel like eating. I hate eating race morning. It's so hard to get food down, but you have to. If you have to get up 3 hours before your race to try to get some food down, and it can't be something you've never tried, again, going back to make sure nothing new on race day, whatever you train with, it's something like high carb, easy to digest. So like a bagel or some oatmeal or a piece of toast with jelly on it. Nothing super high in fat. Like, a little spread of peanut butter is not going to hurt, but not like a big greasy bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich or something like that. Sometimes when you're getting to the longer races, it is good to add a little protein in, like just maybe some hard-boiled eggs or egg white, something like not super greasy, or like a protein shake if that's good on your stomach. But you want a little protein with your carbs for the longer distances. Trying new nutrition. I've already said this. Nothing new on race day. So don't say like, oh, my friend this morning gave me this gel because she said it works really well for her, so I'm going to use her gels on the race. And then you'll be puking off your bike. So don't do anything new on race day. Looking at your pace every 10 seconds. So you're out on the swim, you're looking at your watch, and okay. Or you're on the bike constantly focusing on whatever speed you're going. Like check it occasionally, obviously, because you want to make sure you're staying in your range, but don't focus so heavily like at staring at your watch every 10 seconds. I mean, you're out here to enjoy suffering with your friends, right? And enjoying the scenery. So don't stare at your watch the whole time. Look, talk to other racers and enjoy the scenery. Enjoy like the pain that you're inflicting on your body, or the strength that you're exhibiting because you train for the race. So also panicking in the swim. So we talked about how not to panic, and it's going to happen. Maybe not to you, but to the rest of us. So when you panic, just don't let it happen. That's number 10. So that's low on the list. And we already talked about how to get through that. So don't let it happen to you. And if it does happen, roll over on your back, tread water, hold on to the kayak, whatever you need to do. But don't turn around and swim back to shore, because you're going to get through it. You will. Just even if it's super slow, right? There's been many times I've thought, I just want to turn around and go back. And then by the time I make the decision to turn around and go back about the halfway point, I'm like, well, might as well keep going now. So, yeah. And then race etiquette. Don't be mean. Like, we're not getting paid to do this, right? It's a hobby. So don't be mean to the other athletes. Don't get mad at the volunteers. They're out here donating their time. Thank the volunteers. Thank the police officers for keeping you safe and blocking the intersection. It's very important, and that kindness goes a long way, because if you're mean to the volunteers, they're not going to come back next year. If you have no volunteers, you're not going to have a race, all right? And being kind to the other athletes, they're going to be kind back. You're going to make their day by, good job, or you look great, or whatever. Or you got snot coming down your nose. Wipe your nose, dude. But just be nice. When you're passing on the bike, make sure you're calling it out. Don't just whip around someone. Say, on your left, coming around. Make sure no littering. That's also a rule, so you can get a penalty for littering. You're allowed to litter in your aid station zones or your bottle exchange zones on the bike. You're allowed to throw your cups in the ground, but not outside. Sometimes on the 70.3s, there'll be a sign, and it'll say, last chance trash drop. And if you drop outside that trash zone, you can get a penalty if a referee sees you. So no littering. Also, you don't want to make Judy going out there after your race and picking up all your gel wrappers and your cups and stuff. So pick up your own trash. If you see another athlete having an emergency, again, we don't get paid for this. If you see somebody on the side of the road that crashed and they're bleeding and they can't get up, just stop and help. It's going to slow you down, yeah, and you're still going to finish, but if somebody needs help, help them. And then celebrate everyone's finish at the end. So, stay and cheer other people on, and especially that final finisher. It's kind of sad if there's somebody out there and then there's no one, they're breaking down the finish line and there's no one to cheer them in. So stay till the end of the day, stay for the awards, and make sure you stand up and cheer that final finisher in, or the slower people. It just makes the finish line a lot more fun when everyone's still there cheering and celebrating. I did forget to mention with our mental stuff, what I like to do if I have an unexpected problem on race day, so let's just say your chain drops when you're mounting your bike. The worst thing you can do is panic and freak out, like, oh my God, my chain's dropped, like, because you're not going to fix it quickly that way. Just, I call it red light, yellow light, green light. So red light, I get a problem. It's like, okay, it's a problem. I have to fix it. I'm going to fix it calmly. That's my red. Yellow is calmly fix. That's the transition of fixing the problem, fixing your chain, changing your flat tire, taking your sock off to fix the blister, put a Band-Aid on, whatever the problem is. And then green is like, okay, I fixed the problem. It's time to go again. So red light, yellow light, green light. And then, okay, another just a tip. You can accept help from SAG vehicles, race personnel, and other athletes. You cannot accept help from outside. You can't take a gel. Technically, you can. You're just not supposed to. But like if your husband's there, like handing you some chapstick or a gel or a bottle, you're not supposed to take it from outside. That's called outside assistance, and that's a rule that you're not supposed to break. Okay? So you can take things or accept help from race people or athletes, but not your friend or your husband or your mom on the side of the road. You're not allowed to have pacers on the side. Like if you decide to have your friend who's not racing pace you on the run, that's also technically not allowed. That's also considered help. And then practice changing a flat tire and know how to change your flat tires. I'm not very good at it, I have to admit, and I hate it. But you still have to, even if it takes you a long time, the more you practice, the quicker you will become, because maybe on a sprint you're going to be like, well, I got a flat tire, I'm just done. But when you're paid a lot of money and you're doing a 70.3, you're not just going to say like, I got a flat tire, I'm done. You're going to have to learn how to, change it. Okay? And last thing is laying out a few things to do the night before your race. Make sure you lay out all your gear the night before. Pack everything. Sometimes you have to check everything in the day before certain races, but make sure everything's ready the day before. Not get up race morning and decide like to pack your backpack and get your gear ready. You can inflate your tires in the evening, but if you have to check your bike in transition the night before and it's a hot day, your bike tires can expand and pop overnight. So I would let air out actually if you're parking your bikes in transition the night before and it's a hot night. Let a little air out and then top it off in the morning. You can bring a pump race morning to top your tires off or to pump your tires. You can borrow someone's pump, and a lot of times there's bike support that will have tires inside pumps inside transition for you. Make sure your watch and your bike computer or any electronics that you're using on race day, make sure they're charged the day before. And like I said earlier, you've already had your bike tune up 2 weeks prior. Set 2 alarms, so you make sure you wake up, especially if you're a heavy sleeper, whether it's a bedside table alarm and your watch, whatever, your phone. Make sure you know the course. Review the course maps. It's your responsibility as an athlete to know the course. It's not the race director's responsibility that you went off and took a right turn when you're supposed to take a left turn. It's not Judy's fault. It's your fault. You have to know where you're going. Chances are there'll be people ahead of you and you can just follow them, but if you're first or last or the race course is really spread out, the athletes are really spread out, and you don't know where to go because you can't see anyone, you need to know. And it's usually, most races are very well marked, but still, if you need to drive the bike course in your car, know where you're going, it is your responsibility to know that. Eat a familiar dinner the night before the race, nothing crazy, like you want a little protein, a little carbs, nothing spicy, nothing greasy, like a chicken breast and some potatoes or rice or pasta, or lean steaks, salmon, whatever you eat, but you want to eat early so you don't have a very full belly when you go to bed. Make sure you're staying hydrated the week of the race with electrolytes and water. So especially those few days prior to the race, make sure you're well hydrated, because the worst thing you can do is start your race dehydrated, because your performance will suffer. So you can't get ahead of dehydration on race day. So make sure you're hydrated going into it. have your breakfast prepared the night before, know what you're going to eat. Don't get up and say, oh, what should I eat today? Like, have it ready. Have it sitting out, ready to go. Have everything ready. Also, like, have your race bib, your number pinned to your bib. Little things you can do ahead of time. Have your numbers affixed to your bike. Anything you can do before race morning is going to help race morning go a lot smoother. And then just go to bed knowing that you're ready. You've done everything you can. You've been training. You're well prepared. And the race is actually just your victory lap. The hard work is training, right? The race is your party. It's your celebration. It's your victory lap. It's being out there with all these other crazy people just doing this fun stuff that we love to do. And I always think race day is like the one time I don't have to have any responsibilities. Like training, you're training like, oh, I got to get home for work, or I've got to get home and get my kids to school, or I've got to go home and do chores. I have to be home at a certain time because I have to be here afterwards. But race day, it's all yours. People are feeding you and they're taking your picture and they're cheering for you, and you don't have to be home at any certain time. You don't have to go home and do chores. You just got to race and then celebrate and eat yummy food the rest of the day. Or cocktails, whatever you do. And then just some closing notes. Tomorrow, this is when I'm doing a talk the day before the race, but your race day isn't about being perfect. It's about putting together everything that you've trained for and solving small problems as they come and enjoying an amazing day. And I always like to tell athletes that you picture one day like in your mind as your race day, and it usually does not go that way. So it's the athletes that solve the problems on their feet and reevaluate in their minds that make it to the finish line. So let's say you want to do your swim in 30 minutes and you get out and it's 45 minutes and you're like, well, I just ruined my whole day. My swim was 15 minutes longer than I thought. Don't let it. Just reevaluate, okay, well, my swim was 15 minutes longer than I thought, but it's okay. I'm going to just keep moving forward and just solving things as they come on. Like if you missed a goal, you dropped the gel, you had a flat tire, don't let any of those things ruin your day. Just keep moving forward and keep enjoying the time that you're out there. And then last, I always tell people there's 4 races on race day. The first race is the one you've imagined for months. Like all your training, all the thinking you've done about your race, that's the first race. The second race is the race you hope for. The third race is the race that actually happens and unfolds. And the fourth race is the story that you're going to tell afterwards. So the first 2 are out of your control. You can't have the race that you imagined for months because it usually doesn't go that way. And you maybe don't have the race that you hoped for. Maybe it went better, maybe it went worse. But you can choose how your day unfolds, and you can choose to tell fun, upbeat, funny stories about your race. Whether it was bad or good, you can, elaborate. And then it's just you showed up and you adapted and you finished, and that's what counts. Is just getting to the finish line. All right?
I have a silly question. Okay, I actually don't know how to draft. How close do you have to be? I'm scared to be close to people. I could be drafting and not knowing.
6 bike lengths.
Oh.
Which is farther than you think. So if this is the front of somebody's wheel, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and probably a little more because I'm probably not taking big enough steps. That much.
That's how far.
Now you're allowed, and these are all on the back of your paper I gave you, but you're allowed to be in someone's draft zone if you're passing. But you have to pass and then get back in. And if you can't hold that speed and that person behind you now gets mad because you got in front of them and slowed down, they still have to drop back from the draft zone, wait till they're 6 bike lengths behind you before they pass again. So if you're going to pass someone, make sure that they really are going slower than you and that you're able to hold that speed once you get around them, or you're just going to make them very angry. But it's hard to tell because somebody might be going really slow. But if you're drafting, it's going to feel like you're riding easier than you want to be because you're getting their draft. So then when you pass them, you're like, oh, crap. This is a little harder than I thought. So it's kind of a game. And then sometimes it just goes back and forth. Like you pass, and then they pass you back, and then you pass them back, and it just keeps going. So that gets a little frustrating, but that's pretty common too. Good question.
Okay, so I have a question about, is there anything that you would advise as a person ages, and I'm doing this now older than I was before, is there anything different nutrition-wise or training-wise that you would advise?
Yes, because I've been doing this a long time. I don't know if we're the same. I'm 58, so my body definitely does not perform the way it used to when I was 35. So recovery becomes a lot more important. You may not be able to, I mean, I used to train 7 days a week and not really, like a swim would be my off day. I definitely do not do that anymore. Now I might take 2 or 3 days off a week. And really, like, your nutrition is important. Recovery is important. Strength training is very important. The strength, going into the gym and lifting weights, very important. You've been doing this a long time. What, do you agree? Recovery.
I'm in my 60s now.
Yeah.
I'd say, I told someone this is the first year where I've really noticed it different. I can't just hop in the water and go like
Yeah,
I used to.
yeah.
It's taken me a lot longer
Yeah.
to recover. I have a new coach, so he goes, I train professionals. We don't go 6 days a week. So
Yeah.
I made like 3 days on, a day off.
Mm-hmm.
2 days, a day off.
Yep. Even mentally, you need that,
Yes.
like, time off. Like,
Yeah, but no, I noticed a big,
Mhm.
at 58, I can still,
yeah,
but now,
yeah.
I
I think every decade gets.
just can't, and I never thought I'd say that, and here I am, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 63, I hit this year, and it was just like, I just can't
I know.
go like I used to go.
We say, my friends and I, that we train, like, aging is not for the sissies, or aging is not for the weak. I have double knee replacement now, so I just did too many of my fair shares of long distance, and plus, well, my doctor said it's not all based upon that. It's based upon the tread on your tires that you were born with, and I got blessed with bad tread. So I don't, like, definitely take way more time off. Definitely don't go the paces that I used to go, but in general, you don't always slow down as you age. You don't. Like, you can get faster, especially if you're new to the sport. And there's still lots of PRs to chase and lots of improvements. But you do need a little more recovery. And again, like, the strength training in the gym and your nutrition becomes even more important than when you were younger. I know when I was younger, I would come home from like a 100-mile bike ride and take my 3 kids to the mall and walk around the mall, the water park, be perfectly fine. Now, well, first of all, I don't ride my bike very often that long, but I would just now come home like, what's on TV for the remainder of the day, and what time can I have some wine? So, yeah.
I would add to that sleep, mobility, and depending on your age, like HRT makes a huge difference.
Yes.
In
Yes.
your recovery and your energy level.
Good. Yes, mobility. It's a good one too. Yep. Did you say HRV?
HRT.
HRT, sorry. Oh, yeah, that too.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yep.
When do you recommend tapering before a race? Like, how many days before a race?
Good question. I actually meant to touch on that. So the tapering is very important. I don't know if you guys are following a schedule or not. Probably at this point you're just kind of doing your thing, which is great, and that makes it more fun that way. But as you get more into it and you do tend to follow a schedule, usually the taper is based upon the distance of the race. So the longer the race, the longer the taper. For a sprint, I would definitely still take that whole week. Not that you're not doing anything, you're doing shorter efforts and adding in some race intensity intervals. So, for example, maybe you want to go ride your bike for 30 minutes, like the race. Let's say the race is Saturday. Maybe the day before the race, you might want to take off, or you might want to do an easy little shakeout run. Each day gets shorter and shorter as you get closer to the race. And I personally like to just take the whole day off the day before the race, because then I'm really excited to go out and move my body after not doing anything the day before. But for example, like on a Wednesday, maybe go do a 30-minute bike and a 10 or 15-minute transition run, and add in some race efforts, like just short little 30-second bursts of like pickups. And then, it's good to practice your transitions race week, get a swim in, things like that, but short, just very short things to keep the body mobile and moving. and at least a couple days completely off of rest. Yeah. Anything else? Yep.
So it's not okay to draft behind the bike, but it's okay to draft during the swim?
You got it.
Okay.
You are allowed to draft on the swim or the run. You are not allowed to draft on the bike. I know, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah. There is a big benefit to drafting on the bike. A big benefit, yeah. The swim, it is a little bit of a benefit too. But sometimes it just gets annoying trying to draft off someone, and I don't really love drafting. I kind of find my own open space. I know that's not technically the best way to do it, but that's just mentally, I like having my own little spot to swim in.
What's a hairstyle that lasts, especially in the longer distances? I see a ton of girls getting out with matted hair.
Your braids are perfect. Or one long braid, yeah. That's how I used to, when I had longer hair, I would braid mine, in one braid.
I cut a whole bunch off.
Also a little conditioner. Not up here because your swim cap will pop off, but down low, a little bit of like leave-in, like your hair conditioner that you wash with, just leave a little bit in your hair wet, and then it just gets the tangles out easier. But not up here. Because I used to put it up here, and one time I had my swim cap completely off in the swim, float away. I was like, ah. Yeah. You learn a lot of lessons when you race. You guys will, and train, yeah. And I always say some of your worst races are your best races because you learn the most lessons. So you might have this really bad race, but you learned so much on that race that it ends up being like a very fruitful race because you learned a lot of little things to take away. Like, I'll never do that again. Yeah. All right. Yep.
I've heard some people say that like their goggles have sand or something, and so to like bring an extra pair.
Goggles?
Yeah, like if during
Yeah.
the swim, like they'll fall off.
Well, I wouldn't really carry them during the swim, but a lot of people, though, like it's recommended to have 2 pairs of goggles in case you get down there and they break or something. I also like to buy a new pair of goggles race week. Not if I'm racing like every week, but I like to have a pretty fresh pair of goggles for a race because then they don't fog up and they're just crystal clear. I also don't take very good care of my goggles, so maybe if I took better care of them, I wouldn't have to buy a new pair. But I just feel like it's just something I like to have new goggles for a race.
Do you have a second set on you?
In my backpack,
Okay.
in the transition. Yeah. I don't like put them down. You could put them down your sports bra or your bathing suit or something in case. It's not common, but it's not uncommon that your goggles get kicked off during a swim and then they float away. It's not very, it's pretty rare, but you can, to prevent that from happening, you can put your goggles on and then put your cap over it. So then if they get kicked off, they're just going to kind of go up and they'll still stay attached to your head. But no conditioner on top of your hair. Yes, that was good. Wow. Anything else? Oh, I have my card. If you guys want my card, if you guys have any questions, but it's really easy. It's just jackie.miller@usatriathlon.org. If you have any questions, I don't mind. Email me. I don't mind at all. If you have questions about training or nutrition, feel free. I'm on my computer on work all day, so it's fun to get a fun email versus somebody needing something else.
Favorite race you've done? Like a location?
Well, I love Chattanooga, 70.3 and Ironman. The venue is really fun. The bike course is fun. I live in Florida, so it's flat, so it's hard for me to do hilly races, even though hilly races are way more scenic than not. Ironman Lake Placid is gorgeous, but very hard for a Floridian. And favorite maybe just because all my friends go. I don't do Ironman anymore, but Ironman Florida only because like it's always a big group of us and it's the week is fun because there's so many people there. But yeah. Do you have any you're considering?
I'm going to Chicago in 3 weeks, so I was just curious.
Yeah, those are probably my top. Chattanooga, Placid, and Florida. Yeah. I don't know. They're all fun. They all have their, I can't say I don't like any of them.